Good morning, dear students. I am Dr. Gopala Sudarshanam, Senior Assistant Professor of Commerce and also Head Department of Commerce, working at Government Degree and PG College, Gajwel. I am very happy to invite you all once again to this my video lessons presentations. Today we will have a general topic which is very useful to all BCom streams in general and other science streams in particular. The title of my lesson today is Women Empowerment and Role of NGOs. What is women empowerment? To empower the women, what role NGOs have been playing? So, taking the role of NGOs into the account, this title has been designed. See, the women empowerment, in fact, is very area on which huge discourse, debate, and discussion has been taking for last so many years, because it is one of the parameter for the measurement of growth and development of any nation. Unless the woman is empowered, we cannot note that the nation is empowered and enriched high. Hence, the empowerment of women is underlined very much. Then how women are empowered? In which area they are lagging behind? And how they have to be empowered? These things have to be taken into account in our discussion. Government is also taking much initiatives so as to bring them into mainstream. But here, as far as our today's lesson is concerned, my area is, that is, the topic I want to teach you is the women empowerment with special reference to rural area. To empower the rural area women, what things have to be taken into account? Who are playing different roles and vital roles, like government, society, and other government agencies like banks, financial institutions. But apart to them, NGOs, what have chosen, are also playing very important role in empowering the women role. That we will discuss today. How they are empowering the women, in what way they are contributing to uplift the women of the rural area. Those things can be discussed. Look at to the slide. If women is empowered, we can find much light, smile, and happiness on their faces. They are smiling means they are happy. When they will be happy? When they are empowered. They are empowered in terms of administrative aspects, political aspect, financial aspect, social aspect, whatnot. If they are brought into the all these areas and allowed them to play required and important role, certainly they will be empowered and enriched with more abilities. Yeah, for that, what they have to do? The backward women, where unemployment is huge in the rural area, have to be brought into the stream. They have to be provided some employment opportunities. Employment opportunities need not to be always the employment opportunities provided by the government. Self-employment, self-sustenance, their own vocations, professions can also be made them happy and treat them as empowered. For that, I have designed the lesson into following heads. Certain introduction we will take, that what we discuss now, and the review of literature. Do any other works have taken into account, or there are any research works wherein and the role of NGOs is identified in bringing up of the women in the rural area, and what is the need and significance of this study, what are the objectives of my study and presentation of this topic, the research methodology adopted to write this presentation, and data analysis and presentation, findings of the study, finally conclusions. Yeah, the initiatives, action for rural women empowerment. What is in fact government? What is rural? What is NGO? If we have a candid idea about these things, we can aware well what actions are required for rural women's empowerment. Let us look into the term. What is rural area? As per ICE, Indian Planning Commission and National Sample Survey, if the population of if any area is extend to the maximum of 15,000 and population density per square kilometer is 400 and 75% of male working population are depending on the agriculture and its allied works can be called as rural area. If any place or any area is called as rural area, what characteristics possess? Its population should be maximum 15,000. It should not cross 15,000 population. This is one feature. Second one is the population density per square kilometer. Population per square kilometer should be 400 only. And third point is 75% of male working population, not male population alone, male working population should depend on, should be involved on agriculture and its allied or supportive supplementary works. This is the definition and boundary designed by the Indian Planning Commission and National Sample Survey of India. So that is rural area. Now we have to decide ourselves. We have to judge ourselves, the place where we are living, whether it is a rural area or urban area. Second one is NGO, non-government organizations. What does it mean? Means these are the voluntary, autonomous and non-profit organizations. The organizations which are established as a voluntary organization or association or institution, and it is autonomous. It will not be governed by any government agency, and its primary motive is not earning profit but to render the service. So the association of people which is formed voluntarily as a autonomous entity and non-profit intention can be called as NGO, non-government organization. These NGOs must be registered as per Indian Societies Act or Indian Cooperative Societies Act or Negotiable Instruments Act, India. As far as a research article published in reputed English daily The Hindu on 12th August 2019, in India there are about 36 lakhs of NGOs. 36 lakh NGOs have been rendering their services. They are rendering voluntarily without expecting any pie, profit, no hidden agendas. Only the thing is to service, render the service and provide their skills to the people in need. That is the main objective of any NGO. Then what is empowerment? Authority or power given to someone to do something is called empowerment. Authority or power given to someone to do something is called what? Empowerment. Now, initiatives of NGOs. Generally, what activities NGOs can do in generally? The non-government organizations that are prevailed across the nation can undertake multifarious programs, literary awareness campaigns, rural poverty awareness over the rural poverty elevation schemes. They can propaganda, they can campaign against the government schemes, policies, activities, and even they can undertake the poverty elevation activities. They can train the rural Indian, and not only women, it can also undertake the training and awareness programs for the poor and backward area youth, and they can give training in the technical know-how, whatnot. Their services can be scattered in every area. Entrance is penetrated into every space. Such activities, multifaceted programs they can undertake. Plantation program and sanitation program and cleaning and making the neat and providing the hygiene environment and distributing the some school equipment to the government institution. These things can be undertaken by the NGOs as its course of action. And they can also undertake giving the minimum training in the ICT, information and communication technology, usage of digital and usage of internet access, etc. In all areas, they can train them, and they can conduct the training and motivational classes to the rural poor and especially to women to know knowledge about the banking, their financial services, etc. So that for this connection, for this presentation, though in our Siddipet district we have around 15 registered NGOs, to make my presentation and to do study of contribution of the NGOs, I have taken two NGOs. Those are IRDAs, Ideal Rural Development Society. It was registered and established in 2008, and it is functioning from the village of Irkot. And AMM, Adarsha Mahila Mandali. This is another NGO. It was registered during 2009. Then, to know about the works of the NGOs and to identify the problems of rural women, I have gone through certain conceptual background. I have referred certain text, and even I experienced some field visits. So that this all made as a review of literature. To write a research paper, out of which I prepared today's presentation. I have reviewed about 10 research articles published in India and studied about 5 online essays and referred a couple of textbooks like Sundaraman Dutt's Indian Economy and reference books on poverty and employment schemes, etc. were also referred. And I have gone through annual reports of the selected NGOs. Every non-government organization at the end of year, it used to prepare a report called annual report, in which it can write all the activities they have undertaken, initiated, programs included, how many training programs, how many workshops, how many campaigns and technical initiatives have taken, what is the output and the result registered and amount spent, etc. Taking into account, they can prepare a report. So I have referred to those annual reports and also went through articles published in daily newspapers of this region. Based on them, I have made today's presentation. Then, why we should study? What is the need and significance of this study? Why should we study the role of NGOs in rural empowerment, in special reference to women? Because the rural development schemes have been playing very important role in empowering the women. In particular, Telangana Asara schemes, some startup schemes, and Kalyana Lakshmi schemes, single widow schemes, widow schemes, single women schemes, old age pensions, and apart to these, good number of central government initiatives. Those are strictly implementing in the rural India. So those are playing very important role to brought up the women onto the mainstream and to uplift them from the vicious circles of the poverty, debt traps. So that is really affected by the NGOs initiatives, by the women knowing about the rural empowerment schemes that I want to study. Hence, I have taken this study. NGOs are performing variety of services, and most of them are at humanitarian ground. Many of the business entities, whatever they do, they have intention of gaining the profit. But when NGO enters into the initiative, their very purpose is render the service itself. Then me as has proposed to know the NGO's contribution to women empowerment in selected villages. Even to make this study, I have selected certain villages like Rukod and Urugupalli. In that villages, how NGOs are contributing. Really, with the contribution of NGOs, women are benefited, and how that benefit is registered, what is the change in their livelihood, standard of living. Those things have tried to identify through this study. And my study is also aimed to know the impact of their activities on women empowerment. Whatever activities they are intended, the NGOs do, really they are affecting the women, and women are getting empowered. So to know all these things, my study has made important one. Then objectives of the study. What is the main purpose? What are the objectives to make this study? The main objective of this paper on which I prepared this presentation are to know the initiatives of selected NGOs toward women empowerment. So to empower the rural women, to make them get authority, power over administration, power over family activities, and authority over financial aspects. So, what initiatives have been taken by the NGOs? To examine the respondent satisfaction level with NGOs initiatives. Then, what is the satisfaction level of the respondents, mean the selected rural women, how they are responding? What is their satisfaction level with the initiatives of the NGOs towards their empowerment? And to study the impact of NGOs activities on women empowerment. So as to empower the women, what are activities designed by the NGO? Is it only training, literacy, poverty elevation, and throwing the knowledge over financial assistance by various financial institutions like banks and other organized and unorganized sectors, and giving training on computer usage? What are it? And plantation, and encouraging them to participate in government initiatives like Haritharam programs. And what are the initiatives, what are the activities they are taking to empower the women? That I want to know. So that I have made it an objective, and at the end, to offer necessary and required suggestions for NGOs to conducive efforts vis-a-vis women empowerment. So to make NGOs more energetic and enriched, contribute different types of activities so as to cause for the empowerment of women, but more suggestions required. So they can also be extended by the researcher wherever and whenever required. For this study, to make this presentation, what I did, I have made some sampling. So that sampling selection of the villages in where I have conducted the study, and the people, the respondents, means women of that rural village, to choose, I depended on convenient sampling method. And as I said, across around the Siddipet district there are 15, and very close to the Siddipet there are 10 NGOs. Almost all are registered NGOs, but to study all may cause much cost, time consuming, and lengthy process. Hence why I have taken only two, as I said previously. One is IRDS, another one is AMM. And the study is made in couple of villages only. In almost 20 mandals are there in Siddipet district. In each mandal, 10 to 15 villages will be there. Altogether, 300 about villages will be there. But I cannot extend this study to all villages. Hence why I have taken only 2 villages for this presentation as well as study. That is Yurkod village and Burugpalli. They are just 10 to 15 kilometers away from Siddipet town, which is the headquarters of the district. And again, from each village have taken 50 respondents, that is women. So that togetherly 100 women have taken as a sample to conduct a study. And data collected through primary sources and secondary sources. So to make the study very empirical and possible, the data is very much required. So some conceptual frameworks, as I said, have connected through the literature review, that is secondary source. Not only that, secondary source is not only literature review, have gone through the reports of the NGOs also. And as far as primary sources is concerned, I have spoke with the respondents, have visited the fields, and I have also interacted with the responsible persons of these NGOs. For IRDS, Nagalingam is the chairman and president of that IRDS. I have interacted with him. And for AMM, Shivkumar is the president. I have interacted with him. And other office bearers are also involved in our discussion. From them also, I tried to collect the data. Then the collected information has been again tabled, analyzed, and presented in a appropriate way. But for presentation also, simple statistical techniques like and percentages were used. Then these are the some of the rural women empowerment schemes initiated by the esteemed central government. So that's a central level and central government initiated or sponsored schemes for the rural empowerment scheme like IRDP, Integrated Rural Development Program. It is to all, in fact, not exclusive to women, but women will also take part in it. And TRISEM, training for rural youth for self-employment, development of women and children in rural area, Dwakra, Mahila Samriddhi Yojana, MSY, Indira Mahila Yojana, Rashtriya Mahila Kosh, the Velugu program, Indira Krantipatan, and SGSY. These are a few schemes for rural empowerment. Rural empowerment is special reference to women too. But for our presentation, here we have taken a few women empowerment schemes that are closely considered for this presentation. Number one is TRED, TRED, that is Trade Related Entrepreneurship Assistant and Development Scheme. Mahila Udayam Nidhi Scheme, Mudra Yojana Scheme, Annapurna Scheme, Stree Shakti Package for Women Entrepreneurs, Bharatiya Mahila Business Bank Loan, Dena Shakti Scheme, Udyogini Scheme, and Santa Kalyani Scheme. About each scheme, let us have a brief presentation from each slide. That is TRED. TRED. This scheme aims to empower women, providing credit to projects, conducting and counseling and eliciting information on related need. The scheme provides for a government grants of up to 30% of the total project cost as appraised by the lending institution. These institutions would finance the other 70%. Second one is Mahila Udyama Nidhi scheme. This scheme is offered by SIDBI, Small Industries Development Bank of India. The scheme provides financial assistance of up to rupees 10 lakhs to set up a new small scale venture. If in rural area, women want to set up a small scale venture, up to 10 lakhs rupees can be provided to that group formed by the women under the head of Mahila Udyam Nidhi scheme. It also assists with upgrading and modernization of existing projects. If already projects are established, if or upgrade also, this scheme can be extended by providing the assistance of 10 lakhs rupees. Then the loans are to be repaid within 10 years. The group or the women who have taken the loan under Mahila Udyama Nidhi scheme have to repay the loan within 10 years. And this includes a 5-year moratorium period also. Means first 5 years they need not to pay anything. Any 5 years can be moratorium. Temporarily they can be stopped to pay their installments. Further, interest rates on these loans can vary according to market rate. So this is one of the prominent women empowerment scheme initiated by the central government. And very famous scheme is Mudra Yojana scheme. This general government scheme for small unit is also applicable to women who want to start a small enterprise, such as tuition centers, tailoring units, etc. If women in the rural area, not only rural area, even if they go to the urban and semi-urban also, to start any tailoring units, tuition centers, beauty parlors, any small enterprises, under this scheme, they can be extended the financial support. It is also useful for a group of women who want to start up together. Loans from 50,000 onwards to up to 50 lakhs are sanctioned under this scheme. Collateral and guarantees are required only if the loan amount exceeds the 10 lakhs. Up to 10 lakhs rupees, women, if they want to take the financial assistance under Mudra Yojana scheme, they need not to get any guarantors or they did not to collateral any of their fixed or variable assets up to the loan of amount of 10 lakhs. If more than 10 lakhs, if they are intended to take, then they need of this both collateral security as well as guarantor. There are 3 plans under this scheme that this is must be important. And again, 3 schemes are in vogue. Those are Shishu plan. Under these, loans up to rupees 50,000 for new business will be given. It is called Shishu plan. Kishore plan, loans between rupees 50,000 to 5 lakhs for well-established enterprises will be given. And third one is Tarun plan, loans between 5 lakhs and 10 lakhs for the business expansion can be given. So if just you want to start a small enterprise or a small business unit, you will be extended 50,000 rupees. And if it is already established of a medium scale, that is up to 50,000 to 5 lakhs will be given. And to expand the business at the larger scale, they can extend up to 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs under the Mudra Yojana scheme. Their Annapurna scheme. This scheme applies to women entrepreneurs who have started a food catering unit. Exclusively, the schemes can be applied where the entrepreneurs start catering the food needs or food catering units. They can avail a loan up to rupees 50,000 to purchase kitchen equipment, certain utensils, and water filters. A guarantor is required to secure the loan. For to take loan here is a guarantor is required. After securing the loan, it can be repaid in 36 installments. Means at least 3 years will be given. Further, interest rates under the scheme as per the prevailing rates and assets will be taken as collateral by the concerned bank. Next one is Sri Shakti package. It is offered to women who have majority ownership over 50% in small business. If in any business, a woman is owned by 50% of equity or more than 8, then under this scheme, they will be supported with financial assistance. The women also need to be enrolled in the entrepreneurship development program. Under EDP, they have to be enrolled, organized by respective state agencies. Under the scheme, an interest rate concession is of 0.05% can be availed on loans above the 2 lakhs. Then Bharatiya Mahila Business Bank loan. This scheme involves a loan up to 20 crores for women business owners of manufacturing enterprises. Under the Credit Guarantee Fund Trust for micro and small enterprises, there is no need for a collateral loan up to 1 crore. The loans under this bank loan scheme are to be repaid in 7 years. The scheme was implemented by Bharatiya Mahila Bank, which was merged with the State Bank of India in 2017. Indeed, this Bharatiya Mahila Business Bank is much familiar, and the origin or the activities associated with this bank are majority level you find at the urban and semi-urban places. Area, this kind of loans are very poor because the amount of loan here it is 20 crore up to they can give. Then Dena Shakti scheme. This scheme provides loans up to 20 lakhs for women entrepreneurs in agriculture, manufacturing, microcredit, retail stores, or similar enterprises. There is a concession of 0.25% on rate of interest under the scheme. Loans up to rupees 50,000 are offered under the microcredit category. And Udyogini scheme, this is another one. And Sant Kalyani scheme, this is a scheme offered by the CBI, Central Bank of India. The scheme is for women business owners in multiple areas such as agriculture work or retail trading. Under the scheme, loans up to rupees 1 crore are sanctioned and no collateral or guarantors are required. Rates on loans depend on varying again market rate. These are a few the women empowerment schemes initiated by the central government, and there are also Telangana government initiated some rural women empowerment scheme like Asara and old age women pensions and widow pensions, Kalyana Lakshmi, single women pensions, etc. Old age pensions too. So how these schemes are get benefited by the women? Do really women are aware about these schemes? For that, these NGOs, what they are doing, the initiatives of NGOs are huge, as I said. The NGOs are going to the rural areas, they are conducting the programs, literary education awareness programs, and the government should throwing the light and awareness on government initiatives, rural empowerment schemes, and they are acting as a link between the rural women and the banks, and the financial assistance rendered by various banks under different schemes. So on these, they throw the light to the women. They conduct the workshops. Even they give short-term 3-day, 5-day training to the women on vocational and professional works. And they also train them in usage of internet, access with computers, application of ICT in their work, and even to sell their products that they have produced and manufactured. They are getting the source of marketing place, and they are educating them about the marketing arbitrary system. These are the various initiatives of the non-government organization, that is NGOs, towards the women empowerment in rural area. So regarding this, the respondents to whom, I mean the rural women to whom NGOs is taking all these initiatives, have studied who are they in fact. Are they married? What is their age? Etc. Are considered as what is their social background. So these are all togetherly called as profile of them, biographical profile and socioeconomic profile. So to study them, I found it like this. When you look at to this slide, you can find the respondent profile. That is 48% of the respondents belong to 25 to 40 years age group. The women who are taking the benefit of empowerment schemes, who are attending the NGOs initiatives, are between the age of 25 years to 40 years. How much? 48 percentage, followed by 26 percentage belong to the age group of 50 to 40 to 50 years. So put togetherly, if you take 48 plus 26, about 74% are between the age group of 25 to 50 years. When look at to their marital status, when they are married, whether they are married or not, it could find that through the study, 96% are married. Out of what the total respondents have taken for this presentation are 100. Out of that, 96 women are got married. So that almost all the participants of the rural empowerment scheme, taking the benefits of the rural empowerment scheme, are married. Very meager, negligible amount are unmarried, that is 4%. And when I try to know is their social background? Then it is found that 48% belong to the BC, followed by 36% SC, 11% ST, and very small amount, that is 5%, by other communities. So as a respondent's profile, I try to know three aspects: what is their age group, what is their martial status, and their social status. Then what is the satisfaction level of respondents by the initiatives of the NGOs regarding rural empowerment schemes? When NGOs have taken various initiatives to bring knowledge about the rural empowerment schemes that are useful to the women, do really they are happy with that initiatives of the NGOs? When NGOs train them, retrain them, when conduct the workshop to nurture some skills for them, and conduct a workshop to educate them, throw light on literacy things, and facilities extended of the bank. So by these activities, initiatives, and endeavors of the NGOs, do really the respondents are happy? What is the satisfaction level? If they are happy, if I want to quantify them, what should be the impact on income? These are the things you can find from this slide. Number one, majority of the respondents, that is 56%, have opined that the initiative of the NGO are excellent. By 29% said good, and 9% said average. So that the rural women are very happy with the initiatives of NGOs for their are more. And about 48% have said that the impact of the schemes on their economic empowerment is very high, followed by 29% high and 10% are moderate. So if you look at the second point, 48% of the women said that the rural empowerment schemes are affecting at the larger extent to boost their economic empowerment. And 29% said they are very much happy, and their happy level, impact level is high. So that 48 and 29, altogetherly 77% are saying that there is significant impact of the rural empowerment scheme on their economic improvement. And 70% opined that their monthly incomes have been significantly raised, 2,000 to 3,000 rupees. That is what, before they're getting into the stream of knowing about rural empowerment scheme, or they're taking part in rural empowerment scheme, their income is different. But after joining, apart to their regular income, 70% have said that their monthly income have been raised to 2 to 3,000 rupees. So it is very significant contribution by the rural empowerment schemes. But to get the knowledge of rural empowerment scheme to them, NGOs have been played a significant role. Finally, what are the findings of this study? What we know about really the NGOs have a pivotal role in bringing the knowledge about the rural empowerment scheme to the women, and so as to make them empowered. That you can find through these findings of the study. Majority, that is 74% of the beneficiaries of the women empowerment scheme are in the age bracket of 25 to 50 years. As we just discussed previously, the women who are taking the benefit of women empowerment scheme and taking the part in the women empowerment scheme and become the members of different groups, maybe of Dwakra, self-help groups, or IRDPS, or Mudra, taking loans from Mudra and all, their age is between the age of 25 to 50. This is 74%. Almost all women, that is 94%, are married. Only 6% are unmarried. That means the members of the women empowerment scheme are majority, not majority. Almost all are got married. And coming to their socio-economic, social background, 84% beneficiaries of the women empowerment scheme are SC, ST, BC only. Only SC and BC togetherly got 84 percentage, and followed by 11% of STs, and rest, that is 5% by the other communities. So majority of the beneficiaries are the SCs, STs and BCs. Almost 94% respondents were very happy with the initiatives and activities and programs designed by the NGOs for their empowerment. I mean, women empowerment in the rural area. And as we just discussed, the participants' monthly income after joining into the rural empowerment scheme has been significantly raised from 2000 to 3000 per month. So that their monthly incomes have been significantly raised in the bracket of 2000 to 3000 rupees of empowerment scheme. So that based on these studies, what we can conclude that the NGOs have been paying undeniable and indispensable impact on effective implementation of various rural empowerment schemes. We cannot deny the role of NGOs, and they are playing very important impression. They are laying very impression and impact on effective implementation of various rural empowerment schemes. Apart to the government initiatives, and the government is taking propaganda campaign, propaganda advertisement through giving the ads in the newspaper, and audio presentations through radios, short skits and videos, and so many other channels it is making use to spread the women empowerment scheme with special reference to rural area. But apart to that, the NGOs, non-government organizations, have also playing undeniable and impeccable role to throw the impact on effective implementation, as well as to throw the knowledge of women empowerment scheme over rural empowerment schemes of the rural India. Training programs and awareness campaigns are forefront in NGO initiatives. Though NGOs are training huge initiatives like plantation programs they are taking, and literary camps they are conducting, short-term training they are initiating, some workshop they are conducting, and throwing the knowledge, throwing light, and some kind of training on digitalization they are using, some computer devices they are conducting. Among all, and even removing the bad and the pollution free, how to make the areas pollution free they are conducting. But among all, training programs and awareness campaigns are forefront in NGOs initiatives. Training programs regarding manufacturing, producting, rendering service, and how to impart the skills, and depending on the technology, making use of the ICT, such a training program, as well as awareness program, awareness over the empowerment schemes, their components, and initiatives of the government, application of the impetus and ingredients, otherwise postulates of the scheme. For that, certain campaigns they are taking, rallies they are conducting. So these two are very important and line share in NGOs initiatives. And third one is NGOs have huge impact on women empowerment in rural area. Though government agencies, authorities, local governance have been taking their share and role for uplifting the women and indicating the poverty elevation initiatives, but NGO's role is also, as I said, undeniable. It has huge impact on rural empowerment in rural area, women empowerment in rural area. For strengthening the initiatives of the NGOs, but coming to the the fourth point, it is regarding to the suggestion what a researcher I as a researcher and made a study going and visiting the field level and interacting with the respondents as well as the NGO representatives. I would lay a point that for strengthening the initiatives of the NGOs means to make NGOs more strong, more equipped, and more strengthened, so as to give more knowledge to the rural women and conduct more programs for bringing them for the mainstream. The NGO, the researcher earnestly appeals to the government to provide technological support. NGOs are not imbibed with some technical support. They do not have equipment with them like LCD presentation tools, projectors, some slides, some devices can be used, even microphones. So things are required to conduct when they want to conduct the campaign or awareness program with you more number. But mere manual speech they cannot convince. So a mic system they required. Such way, some technological support they required. That should be the government to the NGOs, and some financial assistance is also needed to them because NGOs are rendering their service relentlessly without any economic motive or benefit, because the very primary intention and objective of NGOs is non-profit organization. So that to undertake such kind of initiatives and programs, even to meet their conveyance charges and to conduct, to bring some resource persons to throw light on different activities, they have to meet some expenditure. So to meet them, some financial assistance and aid is required. Hope government has to extend it to NGOs. And a need-based training is also required. Sometimes when new schemes are implemented by the government, even NGOs may not be well versed with the schemes. So if you train the NGO people who are acting as a bridge between the government programs and the rural women and rural youth, they need some kind of training. So that the need-based training should also be extended to the organizers of the NGOs. Then in result, in return to that, they can take this knowledge to the people who are ultimately we aim at to train, that is women, and they can get benefit with this their training and reap the returns also. So that the world empowerment, if you see that not only the women, the world empowerment will be shaped by the empowered women only. So that the women empowerment is very much required, as majority of the women are staying and habitants of the rural India and laying at the rural areas. They must be trained more and they must be empowered. They're economically they are empowered, administrative, politically, socially, and various empowerments are required to empower themselves and to come into the mainstream, to make their head high. They must be either directly or indirectly take part in the empowerment schemes, such as discussed in today's class. Thank you very much. With this, I can conclude today's lesson. Tomorrow we will meet with another presentation.